Now, Lawrence Belanco of CLSA is now joining us to run us through the technical picture, really. Lawrence, good morning. Great to have you with us here. Thank you very much for your time. Maybe a bit of a fundamental question to a technical fellow, so pardon me, but I don't know if you can tie it in with what you're seeing on price action as well, on charts as well. The Bank of Japan meeting and what it did to yields last night out there in the US and the nervous kind of reaction out there in stocks as well. How important is this one to watch, in your opinion?
Well, I think it's quite significant. I mean, if the yen is used as the carry trade for risk assets across the globe, if we do see an adjustment in that yield curve control, we could see the yen breaking below quite a key support level between 137 and 138. And as you saw, the reaction overnight, the yen strengthening did coincide with risk assets being sold off. So if we do get that adjustment and the yen breaks below the 137, 138, we could see a deeper correction across risk assets, including the Nifty, through the session this afternoon. So I think it is critical to watch that yen and the 137 to 138 area.
137 to 138 area. By the way, I mean, what's your house view? Lawrence, are we going to see something big? I mean, an exit out of its ultra loose monetary policy today, the start of it? Or you think it's still unlikely, despite that newspaper report?
Yeah, I'm just watching the price action. So the evidence that I'm looking at on the charts is that speculators are still net short the yen at over 40% of total open interest. So if there is any adjustment, the risk of those short positions being squeezed out of the yen is significant. So I think it is a space that you need to watch carefully with that one-sided trade in place.
Okay. Lawrence, hi. Good morning. Just want to get your thoughts on the U.S. market setup right now, because we've had this consistent rally and a pretty strong one at that. Yesterday, we had a bit of a pause overnight. What's your read-through? How is the technical setup looking at when you're looking at any of the key indices out there?
Yeah, man, it's quite interesting. Since the end of June, we've really seen in the US, but across the region too, is rotation into laggards. So in the US, you've seen small caps start to outperform. The Dow Jones has got all the headlines recently, but it's been a rotation into parts of the market that have underperformed. So the Dow Jones had underperformed for the first 6 months of the year. It's made a good recovery through the month of July, but so is the small cap index. And that's given the chance to the AR theme, the tech stocks, to pause and consolidate that gains that we've had. And if you look at it across the region, we've seen quite similar. Hong Kong, China has been a big underperformer, and with some positive news headlines coming through, you've started to see a recovery there. So we're clearly seeing this rotation trade in the US, and that's filtering through to the region where lagging parts of the market are seeing some love and support coming through most recently.
Well, morning, Lawrence. Let's come back home then. What about the Nifty? We were breaking out. We were heading towards the 20,000 mark. To be fair, we almost got there. But what are the levels you're tracking on the Nifty, and where do we head from here?
Well, I mean, it's interesting. Mid-caps led the breakout in India. It was followed by the Nifty itself. And actually, last week, we saw India in dollar terms. So if you look at the MSCI India in dollar terms, we broke out last week from a 12-month consolidation pattern. So we've had breakouts across the board. We shouldn't be surprised to see some kind of pause and pullback. But like the S&P, the Nifty has seen its 20-day moving average as key support since April. So that, I think, is your very short-term indicator to look at. But the real breakout points and where the major support comes through is back at the 18,800 to 19,000 area. We don't think that will be broken, but that old ceiling should be an important floor to sustain the breakouts. And just bear in mind the breakouts through that ceiling, which dates back to the 2021 high, still gives us two upside targets of 20,600 and 22,700. So those are still the longer-term upside that we have from the breakout that you saw in June.
Lawrence, some observers of price action have pointed out that once the market, any index for that matter, breaks out of a couple of years range, which it has held, or it takes out the previous high, I mean, it doesn't usually stop. It adds another 10-15% before it goes sideways or stalls, etc. Would you agree with that kind of assessment?
Yeah, it's quite common. I mean, basically these stocks or markets go into these trading ranges. There's catalysts that break out of those ranges. And you typically look at the breadth of those ranges to give you those kind of upside targets. So 10, 20% moves from those trading ranges is quite common. And the longer a market's been in the range, the greater the re-rating potential from it. So yeah, from a chart side, that's how we would look at breakouts from these trading ranges. So as you say, the Nifty has been in a range since basically mid-2021. So we think this breakout is meaningful, and that's where these sort of targets of 22,000, 22,600 come up from those multi-month trading ranges.
Lawrence, any specific indices where you are very bullish on? I mean, sectors basically where one should look for opportunities. Or I mean, if you want to talk about stocks, that's great.
Yeah, I mean, one sector we keep on pushing to is banks, and that's one of the key drivers for the recent breakout in the Nifty. But another sector that we're starting to see breakouts from basing patterns, it doesn't have a long history, but if you look at a lot of the e-commerce stocks listed in India, but I'll take that more generally if I look at a lot of the China internet names, Sea Limited, for example, in Singapore, all these stocks having derated significantly through 2022 have spent the last 10 to 12 months basing out, and we're starting to see breakouts in that space. So, that's another sector now within India. After the derating from last year, you're starting to get meaningful breakouts. And I think on pauses and pullbacks within that space, I'd look at allocating new positions to that space and also keep a key overweight for the banks sector.
Okay, so banks and e-commerce, got that. Just to confirm the upside, breakout targets that you have, 22,200, and before that, I missed the level. Could you just repeat the level again, Lawrence?
Yes, sorry. So it's 20,600 is our short-term target, and then 22,600 is the target from the 2-year trading range breakout.
Okay, got that. Lawrence, thank you very much for joining in. Good chatting with you. As always, you have a good day and a great weekend ahead as well.